Where'd you get that fun mug?
I'm Dylan Gott.
I'm John Hastings. I'm currently in a full rage. I was given a hotel room, no toilet. Do you understand? You understand?
John browbeat them into giving him Wi-Fi. This week we're talking about
ladies and gentlemen,
Umaga.
Patreon not needed. I browbeat people getting things for free. Hit the fucking... Are we going screamo or new metal today for our theme, Dylan?
Ooh, I think in honor of Kid Rock, it's fucking all new metal, baby.
It's all new metal all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy the new metal theme while Dylan and I eye contact jack off.
Yeah. What a theme song, John. I have a full wallet chain stuck up my ass. It's very good. That's how you connect with a man through new metal. You connect wallet chains through your butts.
Do you want to know what I did? I just told a woman, guess what? I sponsor you. And I spray painted my my Twitter handle at the John Hastings Honor, which is one of the many things from the late 90s and early 2000s we don't talk about, which was
spray painting a woman.
So much just spray painting corporate messages on hot ladies. Oh, is that woman a person? No, she's a billboard. Watch any bot.
I only think of the NWO.
I only am thinking of, like, I'm not in the same playing out of spray paint. Like, they would literally put like the big one was boxing. Like, the ring girls would have like golden casino boys like airbrush painted on her body, and it always stuck with me of like, this is wild. We're at the
boxing now just does something to women that even the UFC, like the UFC, are like, hey, look at these women. They all have identities. They have like millions of followers on Instagram. We talk about them all the time. We'll put their handle on stage. Good for them, you know. And then boxing is like, here's 4 women. They're stuck together. Don't tell them that food is a thing.
I'm a quarter way through a Deal with the Devil, the bad sports documentary about boxing in Las Vegas, about a female boxer, pardon me. And it shows the first female fight on a Mike Tyson card. And like, even the commentators are like, I don't agree with this. I don't like it. Yeah. They're gross. Like, you can say that. Like,
why do they have their clothes on? Yeah,
like Jack Nicholson's in the crowd and he's holding bear spray because he's like, what if one of them has their period and a bear attack? Because no one thought about this.
They're animals. And you know who's another animal, I guess? Umaga.
Go ahead. Nope, he was not. He was a man. He was a man named Ed. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about a guy who I, until today, thought was like a shitty, bad Vince McMahon stupid character filled with shit. Guess what he isn't? He's actually just a nice man who loves wrestling. I'm going to say it. He's my favorite member of the NOA family.
Really?
After The Rock, Roman Reigns, and everyone else.
It's crazy to me that he's Rikishi's brother.
It's so weird. That Samoan family seems like they really have a lot of ex-wives. Like, it, with the amount of like, this is my brother, he's 15 years older than me. I'm like, yeah, you all got the same dad. I would like to meet all your moms. And by the way, I'm saying that as a man whose brother is 18 years younger than he is. So game recognizes game, gentleman recognizes gentleman. That family looks like it's got a man at the top who likes to, and I'm going to speak scientifically now, jizz with no domes. That's what it seems like. That's what like. I think if the Inouye family in Samoan means no condom, no problem.
Yeah, I will say this, and maybe you'll lose it in the metaphor. His naked penis spurts at women, and it makes babies.
It's pretty.
Are there any women in this family, by the way?
No. This goes to my point, because I couldn't figure out how
another. Yeah, that felt like a main eventer. Oh no, that's like an Uso.
What I feel like is he jizzes and then he's just tapping the door frame. You know what I mean? Just a little like like one of these, just kind of.
And they're all. Let me say this. I don't think this is focused on enough. Every Samoan except for The Rock, amazing splash. The Rock is the only one that can't do an amazing splash, and he is the biggest star in Hollywood. So what does that say?
What it does say is either you got it splash wise, or Cornette is right. Also, I'd like to say this about The Rock: best person at doing the sharpshooter I've ever seen.
You know what? He got better at it. I will say that.
Oh yeah, he got so much better at. But no, and here, never forget this, and this keeps me warm at night. Bret Hart, not the innovator of the sharpshooter, that is Sting, and Bret Hart I guarantee if you want to see a man full cry and shit his pants, just say that to him. Brett, how do you feel that Sting stole your finishing move?
He didn't steal. I mean, he says in his book that Conan showed it to him.
Yeah, I don't believe his book. Actually, that's not true. I believe
it because he's like, oh, actually, he's like, oh, I need a finisher. It needs to be a submission. And then Conan showed me the sharpshooter. Like, it wasn't even he was like, oh, Sting's move is cool. He was like, I need a submission. And then Conan was like, here's one.
Yeah, it's great. But we're not talking about Bret Hart. We're talking about Edward Smith Fatu, who was born March 8th, 1973 in American Samoa to Vera and Solafa Fatu Sr.
Vera?
That's right. I got to tell you, I want to know more about Vera. His sister, his mother Vera, was the sister of Afa and Sika of the Wild Samoans. Fuck yeah, two guys.
Do you think it's like an island thing? Do you think they're all cousins?
I think it's a wrestling thing, and they are not. I think it's a wrestling thing, and this information not be real. No, well, because The Rock is not a cousin of Roman Reigns. They just say that.
No, they are. They're in the same family.
I don't think they actually are. I think that's an invention.
No, they're in the same family. They're just cousins. They're distant cousins. Like, if they wanted to, they could fucking bang.
Then they're not... okay, I'm looking this up because I don't think...
Don't follow any WWE.com articles that say they're cousins.
Oh. Yeah, no.
All right, well, you're doing that. I'm going to talk more. So... Umaga essentially was only made to go into wrestling, and that's what he did. At 20, no, it wasn't even 20.
No, this is the worst
years
time to try
old.
and look this up. I can't. Every article is WWE because they're building towards Roman Reigns, The Rock at WrestleMania.
Rodney? I thought you were going to be like, they're building towards the series on Rodney King. They're doing a slow burn on Rodney King. Vince just learned what Rodney King was, and he's like, that's great.
Yeah. Every pitch meeting, he's like, Edge is attacked by 4 police, and then we burn down Los Angeles.
But he's too much of a man to take it. Here's what we do. Yeah. Shades of gray.
Yeah.
Is it what him or the system?
Yeah, what we do is we make sure that everyone thinks the cops were right, and then I'm dad. I'm the dad.
Once again, wrestling fans can't do subtlety. Muhammad Hassan. Anyway, they literally did give the fans the chance, and they're like, all right, horrible terrorist heel. And everyone's like, that's ridiculous. Why are they doing that? And they're like, we literally showed where, like, this guy going, hey, you know what? I've been stereotyped at airports, and everyone was like, good. That's one of the worst ones. That and them booing Al Sharpton and cheering Jack Swagger, I would say, are like, ooh.
Oh, that's wild.
I watch bad things.
Oh, I forgot about I mean,
which is during the time of Umaga.
But here's the thing with Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton is a reprehensible human being, but what he stands for is very good. And that's my real problem with Al Sharpton. Because Al Sharpton, and I mean this.
Your problem is what he stands for.
No. I don't like his hair.
Okay, just hair. How dare he mock us bald men with that hair?
That's right, exactly. Alan, I assume his name is Alan. Imagine calling Al Sharpton Alan. Hello. Salut, Alain.
Salut.
Salut, Alain Sharpton.
That reminds me of a great joke Chris Robinson has about, like, he's in Montreal and he's a black man, and they go, don't go down that street. There's a lot of gangsters on that street. And he's like, I will never be scared of French gangsters. What am I going to do? Walk by? And they're like, salut, 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 salut. And then he makes fun of their stupid accents.
That's right. I know where the joke was going, and I knew why you liked it, because it was making fun of someone that wasn't you. Speaking of someone who wasn't you.
He said fucking French words in a dumb French voice. You could use that. Anyway, I'm covered in peanut butter. Let's talk about Umaga. And by the end of this podcast,
seems like a great guy.
He my dog to lick all of it off.
That's right. Dylan is covered in peanut butter, and by covered it means just his asshole. He's just stolen a dog from his neighbor and trained the dog to lick his asshole.
Dogs, I take him. I rent them. I go, can I rent this dog? And they say, what does that mean? I say, I got some peanut butter in 20 minutes. My kid's asleep. And then I go, ooh, 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 chocolate and peanut butter.
I want to know in American Samoa if this family is like considered like the Kardashians of American Samoa,
Or they're just
or
weirdos. They're like,
or just
why?
weirdos. Yeah, like I feel like it's.
Why you just get a mechanic in there? Not everyone has to die of pills.
Did you have a family at your school growing up where like there was like 8 brothers and they were all sons of bitches, and like the entire school was just like, oh, these fucks. We had 2 of those families. Phenomenal.
That's right. Breeding families. There was okay, so there was a family, and the thing was they have a street named after them, and they are directly linked to the Hells Angels, so no one ever really fucked with them. But also their daughter was like the nicest person I've met and legitimately a angel. So it was like, watch out for that family. They're a bunch of fucking motherfuckers. They'll fucking steal all your shit and kill you. And then their daughter was like, hi, I brought pencils for everybody. And I was like, okay, well, something is adding up here.
The best version of that is Jim Brewer's dad was like a crazy high-level World War II veteran. And Jim Brewer's town had one of those families. And Jim Brewer's bike got stolen by them. And he stole it back. And then they came to his house to beat him up. And they came at like 10 o'clock. And they're like, Jim, come out here. Give us back your bike. And Jim Brewer's dad apparently this is why I'm telling this story, because Dylan's going to love this part, walked out and grabbed one of them by the chest meat of his torso and held him close and went, you pick which one of you dies first. And then threw him off the porch. And then they ran away and called the police. And this is why the world is the way it is. That entire family, he's like, I still live in that town. That entire family, now known as the Wussies, because you called the cops on an old man. It's like he grabbed one of them. He grabbed a child by the chest meat and then threatened to kill him.
You used to be able to beat up kids.
Of course, you could.
Especially like, this is the weird math you do when we started to stand up. You go to a Legion and it was like World War II veterans, and you're like, you might not find me funny, and that hurts because like you obviously. We're going to pay the ultimate sacrifice and watched your friends die in the trenches for to fight against fascism. And now I guess guys our age who go to a Legion and do some crappy gig when they first start out, like, yeah, I guess you really fought for our freedoms in Afghanistan?
Yep, Dylan right there going after the brave men and women that went to Afghanistan. Here's the thing to take away. If you're a veteran, stay away from Dylan, because he will take the poppy off your chest and he will go, I don't like poems. Also, by the way,
hey, I've seen Black Hawk Down. I know exactly what happened over there.
Yeah. I've seen Black Hawk Down, and I turned it off. Boring. You're boring.
You did? The only movie I've ever left was Master and Commander. It was like a bunch of fucking. I left, the Russell Crowe Master and Commander movie.
I find that movie very good. It's slow as fuck. I guess
you just did Ritalin, because like I remember being like, me and my friend James were there. We were like, oh, and I remember him going, I get it. There was a goddamn boat, and then we just left and watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That was pretty dope.
That's pretty fucking sick.
We were like, oh yeah, and then we were standing up the whole time, be like, oh yeah, fucking take your dick out, and then the guy never takes his dick out, so like no stars on that one.
You also kept shouting there, like, "Where's the boat in this movie? I want to see a boat movie, man."
Wait a minute, I want to see a boat too.
Texas Boat Massacre, bitch. Yeah. Also, I don't know if you guys know this about young Dylan called everyone and everything a bitch.
Yeah. Bitch. Yeah. I was really into Chappelle.
Oh yeah, you were, bro.
I was Dave Chappelle now, but then.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Not funny.
There you go. No, I told the truth, and if you couldn't handle it, I went to my high school and explained they were wrong.
Yeah.
I am funny. I have a speech prepared. Sorry, we're getting very, very off track. Here's what's on track. Umaga, 18 years old. He's a wrestler. Really another guy who... Of course.
No choice.
Would he have been better to play pro football? I don't think so. I think that he just got addicted to painkillers because he was in that special time where it's like he had to wrestle. He had to wrestle that like almost like an indie style, but his body's fucking massive, so it took more of a toll on him.
It's also, this is the weird thing, and I just know this now living in America as someone who earlier this year had to take a severe amount of Oxycontin, and now they know how to explain till you use that painkiller. In 2001, I think it's 99, 2000, Purdue Pharmaceutical starts pumping out Oxycontin for everything. So if you're a guy capable of working Bryan Danielson's style, but you are the size of Dylan Gott and John Hastings combined, you are going to have some aches and pains, meaning a doctor is going to prescribe you hillbilly pharmaceutical heroin to take it, and now you're hooked on. Like, it's one of those things where it's the saddest thing, because I just was reading it going,
why did they do that? Like, I mean,
I can explain. So it was, as I understand it, it was to maximize profits because they were aware that it would cause extreme perfect pain relief. And at the highest levels, they also knew they were just selling heroin. What also no one talks about is the Sattler family and Purdue Pharmaceutical had always done this. All they ever did was just take one type of medicine and just be like, let's just make it faster. And they did that with Oxycontin.
Yeah, I listened to another podcast. I want to get the name right because some of the episodes are. So what you got to do is listen to the ones that are about
Rogan Experience. Is it the Joe Rogan Experience?
I think it's called the Ben Shapiro Show. No,
is it called Louder with Crowder?
Oh yeah, no, actually, it's called Hitler and Goebbels chopping it up. They have a good podcast studio.
That's the other name for this show. Shotgun being Goebbels
chopping it up.
Shotgun being Goebbels.
We should change it to Hitler
Shotgun being
Goebbels.
Shotgun, just for one day, the worst April Fool's prank. The Hitlers and Goebbels review. Oh no, no context rest review. He's about to just have an orgasm off of just, I'm Hitler, you're Goebbels. You're Goebbels, I'm Hitler. Hitler.
Okay. All right. It's called Swindle.
Yeah.
And what you got to do is listen to this is the podcast about how Hitler, I mean, everybody's got pencils have erasers. That's what it's called. But it's called Swindled, and they do an episode about Procter and Gamble and just how like roundly evil they are, and how like they released a tampon that they knew would cause toxic shock syndrome, and they were like, nah, that's fine. Yeah. And then like a bunch of people died, and they were like, wait a minute, how about this? How about maybe you're a slut? Like someone tried to sue them because their wife died, and he was like, well, check it out. Her pussy was too fucking big for our fucking tampons. That's what happened. Probably got lost up in there with a bunch of coins and dust and shit.
Instead of paying you for your wife that we definitely killed, I'm just going to tell a bunch of people your hog's so big, you killed your wife. How about that?
Well, you know what actually the cause of death was?
No, I don't.
Okay, so she actually stepped outside her marriage, fell in love with a woman, and then Eric Bischoff was upset at that. Umaga killed her.
Oh, yes. Okay, so Umaga is trained at the Wild Samoans wrestling facility.
He's trained by his family.
He's trained by his family, which means I would like to be.
If you're in the NY family,
I don't think he had a choice. I also don't think he had a choice, is the thing I kind of realized with this. Is it's sort of like
they're like business.
Yeah. What am I going to do? You're going to go and try and be as good as Roman Reigns. Bye-bye. I actually will say I think Umaga, pound for pound, he's so much a better wrestler than gets any credit. Like, it just says he's
fantastic.
He's essentially the last. If he had been Hulk Hogan's big monster, they could have kept the belt on Hulk Hogan for WrestleMania 8. Like, he is everything that is good about wrestling now in terms of the impact in the ring, but so nostalgic to the 1980s, and it's so weird is I didn't like him when he was around. It was only now looking at him again being like, this is fucking fun, isn't it?
Me too. But the problem is, so here's the thing that I like. So we should talk about the 3-minute warning first. Him and Rosie, who, I mean, we should do a deep dive on at one point, because Rosie literally is like, hey, you're huge and intimidating. And then he follows the Vince McMahon thing, where it's like, hey, you're huge and intimidating, but also you're not that good. So your new character is, you got a small dick and you hang out with this loser. He becomes Shane Helms' sidekick as the Hurricane.
Of course he does. Super Rosie.
They do 3-minute warning, and 3-minute warning gets like this crazy push. And I mean, I really liked it.
I loved it.
I remember watching it and being like,
well, it gave you your favorite segment of all time.
Well, this is the next phase of the Samoans. They're not, and this is the funny thing. I was like, they're not doing this guy was found in the jungle and he's insane, so he needs a handler. It's just these two dudes who dress like normal for the time. I mean, they were wearing like leather versions of what people would wear, but they're like wearing streetwear and they're pissed. That's it.
It was great.
All you needed them to do is be two fucking huge dudes. But
here's what I also liked is they didn't look like the WWE. Usually WWE goons are like evolution. It's literally like, hey, we're the guys on the football team that definitely will be brought down because of allegations. While 3-minute warning literally looked like little shitty bullies. And they were being bossed around by a little fucking nerd, Eric Bischoff. It was so good. Like, it was so good.
But why, though? Like,
the best part of it all.
Why? Sorry.
The best part of it all is the Billy and Chuck feud. Because Billy and Chuck are wrestlers who are in love with each other. They're two men who are in love with each other. WWE gets an award from GLAAD, and how they end it is Eric Bischoff dresses up like an old man and has 3-minute warning attack them. And then 3-minute warning beats them in the blow-off match. Like, handily.
Unsung, great acting by Eric Bischoff in that segment.
But Eric Bischoff does not get the credit he deserves of being the greatest heel of... He's a better heel than Vince McMahon ever was.
Ever. It's true.
Like, you watch any clip of him coming out with the NWO, he sucks and you hate him. Like, Vince McMahon, they could be like, well, sometimes The Undertaker took it too far. If The Undertaker murdered Eric Bischoff's family live on SmackDown and it was the Eazy-E Eric Bischoff of the NWO or general manager Eric Bischoff, you're like, that family is in a better place. They're away from this smarmy, rude man.
Well, because Vince McMahon, his character was like the evil version of the guy who introduced... We're doing a Patreon on SummerSlam 90 coming up, and it's like he's the evil version of the guy who introduced SummerSlam 90, where it's like, I'm mad at Stone Cold. Whereas Eric Bischoff was just a very believable, like, I'm 5'6", and I can't help it if I stare at your wife's tits, baby. They're just out there.
If you don't want me to try and have an affair with your wife, maybe you shouldn't have married a person with a hole that my penis goes into.
And then you listen to Eric Bischoff talk on his podcast, and it's like, oh, that's just who he is.
Yeah, that's the other best part is now he's just the old version of that. Also, here's a fun game if you guys do listen to 83 Weeks, which I occasionally will pop in on. He mentions that he lives in Montana every episode.
Montana.
I love how...
Montana.
Dylan, we should. Dylan, let's know what we should do. I feel like your wife and family will never go for this, but you would love to live in solitude in a compound. And I say we just get adjoining woods compounds.
I've pitched it a lot, moving to Nova Scotia, where you can get a 3-story house with a hot tub on top for 300,000 Canadian dollars, and that's not bad.
There's
no industry. We need to make this podcast much better.
Oh,
so that people.
If
listen
Dylan
to it
does this plan, attention Patreon, let's pick it up. But luckily,
one a day. If this plan happens, one a fucking day.
I mean, that plan will never happen. You are married to a ethnicity that only exists in Toronto, as far as I'm concerned. They must stay in Toronto to maintain their power.
They must stay in Toronto for you must. It's like
you are married. You
like
married into an
crab out of Australia. It could ruin
exactly
the
right
ecosystem.
Yeah, you are married into East Toronto Mediterranean people, and they must remain in Toronto.
You put a Mediterranean person from East Toronto into Halifax, Nova Scotia, they are just the mayor now, and tourism is done because they need their time to think.
40 minutes into you moving there, your wife will just be declared king of Nova Scotia. The woman is king.
She's taking over. Anyway,
who's this quiet, smiling man?
So 3-minute warning. We should say that all of their highlights now are jarring. Like, they beat up Mae Young. They beat up.
Yeah.
So the HLA segment where 2 women are going to kiss, and then
you posted this on Twitter. This is wild. I did.
You know
not
the
know
other thing about this so those are both wrestlers,
of course.
And the one girl, the girl that gets kicked first, had food poisoning, and she was like, "Well, we'll do this." And no matter what, as long as he kicks me in the face, we're good. And then, like, obviously, Jamal, who was Umaga's character at the time, kicked her in the fucking chest and just, like, cracked a rib pretty much. Like, they murdered these women.
Yeah, this was something that Jim Ross has talked about on their podcast of the Umaga, which was he was there. That was a tag team that I had to settle down a little bit. And he goes, now everyone's going to talk about this. This is something we had to do with a lot of people. This was a big problem. The problem is that 3 Minute Warden is so crystallized in that era, is that everyone remembers it and thinks of them like, yeah, they're
the problem
yeah,
is they were 20.
This is the thing: is they're 20. They're 20. They look 40, and they were also sent out there to be bad guy goons, and they're Samoans. So, like, everyone else discovers wrestling and then learns all the mythos and wants to go into wrestling. These someone
this
was yelling
a mechanic to them. Like they just all right, because I wanted to wrestle. I don't know if I said it earlier, but it's like I can't imagine a life where it's like, hey, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I'm 18, and your family's just like, you just go work in WWE. We all work there, and you're like, all right.
Yeah, like it's the factory in the town to them.
Yeah, which is fucking weird. Crazy.
It is fucking crazy.
But that's the thing is the problem is they're 20 because, you know, obviously everyone's like, oh, the APA, they beat up Public Enemy for the locker room, and JBL would just write racist notes to people, and if they were mean about the racist notes, it was their fault because JBL's just a ribbing. He ribs everybody by dressing up as a ghost and burning a big T on your lawn. That was a big rib, but
yeah,
these guys are 20, and then they lay their shit in to make it look good.
Here's my question: JBL,
no
did
excuse
he say
for
anything?
Smoking a woman in the chest while she, let alone while she had food poisoning.
Hang on. Or is there? The answer is no.
Oh, this week.
The answer is no, Dylan.
That's going to be our Charlie Rose style show.
What? The answer is no with Dylan Gott and John Hastings?
No.
The answer is no.
So
he eventually has to leave the WWE over. They don't exactly say it, but it was rumored that it was a bar fight, which I choose to believe because it is 2002, which means that someone is calling a Samoan person a very rude word for someone who believes in the tenets of Islam. And if you are a 22-year-old named Ed Fatu, you're going to bite someone's face. Like, you have to also understand that there are other family businesses reminding everyone how tough we are. Mm-hmm. So that means some motherfuckers are going to get fucking punched.
And the other thing is you're as big as a house, you're partying every day probably, and you're 20. What the point he is? He's like let go by the time he's 20.
Yeah, he's born in 73. No, he's let go by the time he's 30.
Oh, he's 30. Sorry, I fucked up. So he's 30. Okay, well, I mean, yeah. Then, yeah, you should not be beating the shit out of people.
He heads to TNA, which is wild. I don't remember this at all.
He was with Sonny Siaki, who they tried to get out. They were like, he kind of looks like The Rock. He's The Rock, too. And everyone was like, no, absolutely not.
Oh, my God. This is up there with when they had the Pope. Do you remember the Pope? A wrestler so bad they just made him a color commentator.
The Pope was good on the mic, though.
He was very good on the butt. It worked out, but it fucked
Elijah
me.
Burks.
I mean, it's insane to me TNA is still around. Like, if you had told me, like, TNA just fucking will not die. Like, TNA Impact Wrestling has outlived Ring of Honor, ladies and gentlemen.
Ring of Honor is still around, but I know what you're saying.
No, it's not. It's not coming back.
Maybe. I think that they always will just because they have that weird brand name recognition. And they could also, like, WWE could buy Ring of Honor and just, like, here's our fucking new NXT. NXT is for our show, but then it's like they would just make everyone lose. They would make all the Ring of Honor guys lose once a year to the NXT 2.0 guys. And then, like, be like, I'm sorry, I ever thought I was stronger than you, and cry. They would take everything from them in the ring.
And in this corner, a fitness model. Vince McMahon has taught what a hammerlock is not.
So he goes to TNA for a year. I mean, by all accounts, he's really fucking flying high on whatever booze and somas and shit that he's doing at that time. He goes to All Japan for 2 years, and All Japan is really where most people say this guy learns how to really, really wrestle. And and then comes back as Umaga, and he's like he's amazing now.
And it's so weird because Umaga, like Bobby Lashley and Umaga sort of have this like a similar problem in that, like, looking back, they were fucking great. But like at the time, everyone was like, yawn, yawn. Yeah.
That's crazy. It's crazy that like, because this was also Umaga was a character. You know what? Can we take a break and talk about Umaga, because it's gonna be the rest of the show?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna take a break.
Dylan, we can do that.
We're gonna take a break. Come back. Talk about Umaga.
Break me off a piece of that Dylan got.
All right, let's go, dum.
So it's Umaga. Umaga is essentially it's Kamala, but his manager likes cigars and he sucks. Yeah. But here's the biggest thing about Umaga is it's too old school of a gimmick for this era. Looking back, it was so fucking good because he was basically he was essentially just Brock Lesnar with less racism. But it just didn't quite work because of the vibe of the character felt outdated in the moment, but looking back through the lens of hindsight actually is very fun. Repeat the same point again, John. Okay, I will.
I get what you're saying. It ended up working just because they were like, no, this is going to work. And this is also the time where we talked about this on our Chris Masters episode. This is very much like, oh, they're just going to like go back to what worked. It's funny because they're basically doing this now. They're basically going like, okay, well, we tried all this like weird indie stuff. Now we're just going to try big characters again. Guys from the WWE system like Umaga, guys who have a lineage within the industry.
Well, but it is working and it's not. It's working in that it's something that's on television. It's not working in that a huge portion of their audience has left them, or like they don't have the social media market share that they once did. That's very much AEW, and they're being compared to AEW at every turn. What's very interesting is in the 2000s, they kind of did this to themselves because the WCW invasion was so bad. They just kind of went like, they kind of took that as a like, see, we beat them. Now we're the best. We can do whatever we want. And Vince McMahon's whatever we want is, I just want to see a really muscly guy beat up monsters. I'm the muscly guy. The monsters are my stepdads. Umaga is my stepdad.
Yeah, that was Umaga's first name was Steve.
And it's also so clearly it's Jim Ross is burnt out because it's like he's giving a Terry Gordy finish. He's so a Jim Ross wrestler. He's a tough guy, but he also looks like he likes barbecue. Like it's just something about this. It's like Jim Ross's fingerprints is on all parts of.
Well, it's a classic WWE gimmick. It's a Samoan Savage who's like they try this gimmick every 2 years, and this guy's like he's just another head shrinker. That's what I came out. I was like, the head shrinkers were like 10 years ago. Aren't we past this? Because that's what I was saying. Like when he was Jamal and they were in Jamal and Rosie, I thought, okay, this is a good evolution of like these are actual people that are. Well, it's exactly that.
It's so funny because it's like they were like they took one step forward and then he got into a bar fight and they're like, oh, actually, he's probably better if we just treat him like we always treat anyone that isn't a white gentleman. And they were like, what? And he's like, yeah, he's basically just a bear.
Yeah.
But
30s
shaved.
Racism book. And here it is.
Yeah, exactly. But Vince McMahon, if you, they take one step back and then they take, one step forward, 300 years step back. He's from an island that's not North America. He must be a savage boy.
His finisher is that he cooks the people alive. Well, we can't do that. No, we can. It's the ruthless aggression era. Yeah, jobbers really die.
Oh my God. The ruthless aggression era is everyone. What I feel like about right now in wrestling is that someone was like, imagine you missed the ruthless aggression era. And be like, wait, what? And it's like, I'm like, do I miss the weird summer of punk they did in the WWE? And it's like, no one will miss that. No one will miss that.
Well, so we should say this about Umaga, though. He's amazing at playing the character. Like, he makes the character work. It's like he gets this, like, old trite gimmick. And the other thing that starts happening is his manager, Armando Alejandro Estrada, starts getting over as a babyface because he starts rolling his R's. So they get him to stop doing that, which is funny because I listened to the Jim Ross interview where he talks about Umaga's career and he says, oh, Armando didn't know how to be like a heel. And it's like, wouldn't the other way to look at that be, let's run with this dude as a baby face? Like maybe Umaga turns on him, or maybe this guy has like a stable or something, and not,
Yeah, but
or
that's
just
not.
accept it because it's getting over. Like I remember around this time, that was like one of the fun parts of the show was playing along with him ruling his R's, and he would make it go longer and longer. And instead, they're like, "Oh, that thing on the show that you liked is done now."
Yeah,
Like it's kind of like
it's okay. So, but what it is it's a weird thing that I see people doing as they get older, which is something being adopted as popular. They kind of go like, you see that happen because this person doesn't know how to do the actual
they're
job.
not doing it right. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like no. The whole point of this is to get a reaction from the crowd. That guy's probably knows exactly what he's doing. He's getting a reaction from the crowd. Maybe you guys should just be like, why don't we try Umaga as a baby face? You know, there are people might like it, but they don't.
But then when you're kind
or
Umaga
you just
as
have
a character
Umaga
is
attack the shit out of that manager. Umaga's fucking crazy. Like what I'll never understand about the WWE is the WWE's handed so many obvious things where you're like, just do this. This is what the crowd wants, and they're like, all right, we're gonna do it. 9 months after anyone wants us to do it, or we'll never do it and blame the person whose fault it wasn't for why we didn't do it. Your fault. You're bad.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah, I get you. Like so many things in wrestling, like almost, I wouldn't say almost everything, but like a lot of things in wrestling just happen by accident. Like, you know, you think the DDT, the way the DDT was, Jake says the way the DDT was invented, he had a front face lock on a guy, and then they fucked up, and the guy kind of tripped over his own feet. And I forget which wrestler it was, but he's like, I didn't invent the DDT. I just had the front face lock. The other guy invented it by laying there. And you imagine that, and then you imagine like that the DDT never gets invented because like, oh, that's not what we wanted to do. So
Then
we'll
there
just
would be
ignore
no
that
wrestling
happened.
in the Attitude Era. Do you understand that no match would end in the Attitude Era? If there's no DDT, no match ends.
Yeah, every ECW character's finisher was the DDT at one point. But what I'm saying is, this is exactly what WWE does. Is like, keep in mind too, this is 2005, and they're 4 years removed from getting. Oh no, that's not what we want. This is what we want. We remember what like huge rock. You know, you get a rock pop and an Austin pop on the same show. That's fucking insane. Like, we're gonna talk about SummerSlam '90 on the Patreon soon, but it's like, you look at the Warrior pops and you look at Hogan pops, and those were big, but they're not like Austin and Rock. Like, that's people losing their fucking mind.
Well, it's because also the difference between Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan and Steve Austin and The Rock is Steve Austin and The Rock were extensions of people you found, or more importantly, what 14-year-old boys thought adulthood was going to be, which is either you're a guy in jean short, give me a hell yeah, I got to get some beer, don't like my boss, or you're going to be a man in a objectionable shirt just sexing women. I'm going to be one of two things when I grew up. I said I'm either going to be a man who owns a truck or a man who owns a shirt, but I won't be both.
Yeah, exactly. It was both things that were cool when you were 14. Guy who drinks fucking beer, or guy who just is like, that chick's fat.
Yeah, fat people are bad, and I hate them. And it's like,
once again, you look back at a lot of the stuff The Rock does. I mean, the stuff about how expensive his clothes are is great, but like a lot of it's just like, this bitch has a big pussy. Not even that good. It's just like, this bitch is fucking ugly. I wouldn't fuck her. And everyone's like, yeah, get her, Rock. We all have T-shirts.
Yeah, get her. She was
3 sizes too big.
Yeah, she stood there near you. That's bad. And Umaga is sort of like, if they brought the Ultimate Warrior back to face Stone Cold Steve Austin, everyone would be like, no, this is really bad.
Yeah, but once again, he was amazing at playing the character. He really made it work, and he did it in spite of what people wanted.
I sort of disagree on him making it work in that.
Watch that Cena versus Umaga match, man. We posted on
Facebook. He's an amazing wrestler. In hindsight, I 100% agree with you. I'm talking about simply in the moment. I'm being a nitpicky ass. Simply in the moment. He is not up there.
But he gets big spots, like he does get the Samoan Spike as his finisher, which is not like, I totally agree with you, which is like a really like what this I mean, you can do it to anybody. and it's exactly like the Master Lock. Oh, so we're doing a full Nelson now? But then, like, okay, how are you supposed to sell the spike, the Asiatic spike, as being as impactful as like some of the other moves on the show? Like,
This is the
Mr.
other
Kennedy's
problem.
finisher at this point is the Packer Plunge, which is he goes to the top rope and does a like a flip fireman's carry where all his body weight lands on the guy, and then Umaga's finisher is
He touches you with his thumb.
my
Yeah,
thumb stabs you in the throat.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And it's again, Jim Ross is tired. Like again, Umaga's time is personified as Vince McMahon fell in love and Jim Ross is tired. So Jim Ross wasn't there to be like, all right, now, son, what are you gonna do? I'll drop kick. Instead, he was like, touch him with your thumb. You're Terry Gordy. You're Terry Gordy.
I don't think he was tired. I think he was like, hey, we haven't used this finisher in a long time, and no one's used it on WWE TV ever. And it's like, it's not. This is a new, and this is what we said, but it bears repeating. This is a top level for this time wrestler, like one of the better wrestlers in this company, who his I mean, he had a great run, but like his potential was capped by the gimmick they gave him.
That's right.
Ooh. I don't know, because like this guy's not a promo or anything, so like what other gimmick do you give him, really?
Yeah, I mean, he's tough boy. You literally just have him be called
Angry bus driver.
Literally just have him be called Umaga and don't make it so he's a silent tribal warrior. Just call him Umaga, same shorts. You just have him walk out and be like, I'm here to hurt people. This is the other thing, the WWE, because they want to appear
or
to
puts
kids.
the face paint on, kind of like what they did with Batista, where he puts the face paint on for the match, but backstage he's like just like a normal dude. But then, you know, I pay honor to my heritage when I'm in the ring, but I'm fucking normal as hell afterwards.
Wait, when did Batista put fucking face paint on?
Well, Batista's character was that he was the animal, so in the ring he was the animal and he went crazy, but backstage he was cunning, like an animal.
When did he wear face paint, though?
He never did.
So you just made that up?
I fake newsed it. No, I just meant like Batista was, where the character was that he was smart like an animal, but also ferocious like an animal, because he's the animal.
I mean this, Dylan. I hate you and I hate that metaphor and I want you to stop. I want to
Really?
punch you. Yeah, I want to do this.
Ooh, I'm gonna punch you.
I want to go like this with your. I want this. I just want to go like that to your face.
Ooh, that's how you punch. That's how you punch. That's nice. So Umaga, you know, who was his first match against in WWE?
Ooh,
as Umaga.
Ooh, my notes are over here.
Colt
I was gonna say I know Umaga. Umaga went on a Bill Goldberg-esque like fucking winning streak.
Yeah, he went on a winning streak, culminating in, of course, the great match with him and John Cena, where you watch that match and you're like, fuck, I guess you got to add Umaga to the people that made John Cena a babyface, because people fucking love John Cena in that match against Umaga. They only started hating John Cena once he was like, all right,
it's other side. I think it's other side of WrestleMania 23. WrestleMania 23, WrestleMania 22, 21, 22, 23, almost WrestleMania 24, which I think is that the big time one?
I don't know.
Those WrestleManias are the weird sort of like, wow, these shows are really good, and yet no one remembers this being a fun time in wrestling. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's sort of what it was like. As you look back on that time, and you're like, yeah, Cena was a really good babyface, and everyone loved him. And then they didn't move past it for another 10 years.
They just never cycled him out. They were like, no, man, this guy's fucking a Marine who loves rap.
I mean, I want you all to just go watch. You've never seen John Cena's never been more concerned about any opponent until he accidentally acknowledged Taiwan as a country and then had to go on social media and apologize.
I didn't know what he did. That's all he did was like Taiwan's a country, and everyone's like, what the fuck? And he's like, or it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, that's all he did. And then he was suddenly on television speaking the slowest Chinese I've ever seen in my life.
Well, he wakes up at 3 a.m. every day to teach himself Chinese.
It's insane.
Or Mandarin, sorry. Yeah, I mean, that's what he does. He's the White Rock, where it's like no one's rooting for him.
Yeah, he is the White Rock, and no one is excited. He's like, I'm going to my iron sanctuary. Shut up, Florida boy.
Yeah, where I guess The Rock The Rock's dad was like, "Oh, I had some substance abuse problems, and I came out the other end." What's John Cena's dad? I'm an indie wrestling promoter. You all owe me $5. Everything.
You know what you are not gonna
John,
see?
even the breakfast table.
John, you know what you're gonna see? Not the fucking money I owe you.
Yeah. John, I booked your mom for breakfast, but she no-showed. That's a nice way of saying we're divorced now. Nah, nah, nah.
Yeah.
Indie wrestling. You have to put up the ring, and that means build a table. Nah, nah,
Hey,
nah.
John, here's a shoot. I need $80 right now for no reason.
Let me have a little shoot with you, John, and drop the gimmicks. I cry every day.
Do you remember Questions with the Champ, where they would just send John Cena questions and they put it up on as a video on WWE.com? It was the other weekly program they had, along with Tim White's lunchtime suicide.
Oh yeah, which outside of that is super funny, but they did it on a wrestling website.
I mean, it's insane that they did it, and it's insane that it took so long for everyone to be like, "This is terrible," and they're like, "Yeah, so we're gonna keep making it for a while, though." It's like, no.
I think on a sketch show, everyone thinks that's funny, but on WWE.com, it's very weird. They were like, hey, this is a completely PG product, but also this like short guy's going to try and commit suicide every day, but he's bad at it.
Yeah, it's insane. It's
every single
ridiculous.
day. So Umaga, once he's done with John Cena, what happens, John? What's the fucking next fucking thing he fucking does?
The next thing he fucking does is are you ready for this? Dylan, he reforms 3 Minute Warning, but now all they do is hot lesbian action with each other. That's actually not true. What he does is
that's what they do. They reform 3 Minute Warning, but instead of on TV, they do it off TV, and it's always women.
And it's hot. It is the Intercontinental Championship and the build towards the Battle of the Billionaires, I believe, is the last two things.
That's it. Yep. He is fighting.
But you're missing one thing: is
on the babyface Donald Trump.
That's right, the babyface Donald Trump.
The babyface Donald Trump.
That's the only time Vince McMahon has had anything ever in common with the with the Democrats. Also, thing to remember is he also feuded with Eugene.
Yeah, that was an early on feud, which is insane because it's like, hey, this handicap guy is going to get beat up by this fucking monster. Okay? Eugene's character was, I really like wrestling. And
Umaga's character was I'm here.
Out.
Yeah, I'm here to kill you. And they were like, sounds good.
You know what? This is really going to, any kids that are watching the show are going to be completely scarred. That's dope.
Yeah,
but that's
which is cool.
That's how he got over as such a heel, guaranteed. He's got over as a heel. They're like, well, fucking kill it, Eugene, and then Cena saves him, and that's what happened. Because the other thing that's jarring about watching that Umaga Cena Royal Rumble match is that, and you guys brace yourself for this, children and women are there still.
Yeah,
fascinating. Not just guys that look like us or worse.
Yeah, or their girlfriends that have a look that says, I think I like this, but I don't know. And by that, by this, I mean the relationship. So it's the Battle of the Billionaires. I don't know why Vince McMahon clearly picked Umaga because he loves that kind of heel. The baby face Donald Trump. What a heel turn.
The baby face Donald Trump is great. Here's why he's a baby face. He has more money than Vince McMahon, which also isn't true.
Yeah, it's not true.
Not true.
Not true. Especially now.
No, he's like all these rich dudes. It's like technically he has no money, just so he doesn't have to pay taxes.
Yeah, no, it's not technically he has no money. Is what he has is a bunch of he owns his name, but none of those things he owns. It's fucking wild. And we're not getting into the politics of Donald Trump.
No, you will get into politics of Donald Trump.
No, we're getting into the Battle of the Billionaires, which is so good because it's basically just became a meme factory for Trump's last days in office. Like, bear in mind, Umaga is featured in a meme where Trump is punching what he later then put as CNN, but it was Vince McMahon. That's how crazy this time was. This was also the time of Donald Trump and Rosie O'Donnell. They're going to have a match on WWE TV.
This is the proxy, though. He eventually loses Armando Estrada because they're like, stop rolling the R's. And he was like, well, but I get a good reaction. They're like, yeah, just be a rounded heel. And they're like, I don't know how to do that. Also, weirdly, so they have this, obviously this character that's rooted deep in the 70s and 80s, and then they stop liking having managers. So Umaga, the whole thing about having a character like this is supposed to be like you're bringing King Kong to New York. Like, we need all these handlers. And what would happen if they got loose? And it's like, well, it turns out he would just come out to his music normally still.
Yeah, it turns out he would just report there normally because he's a performer playing a character, weird industry.
Although it would be crazy if like he like went full fucking Stan Hansen in Japan and just started just like going nuts. But I mean, whatever. Anyway, also you should say this. They do like remember they started the guest host thing? And Steve-O and Chris Pontius from Jackass came out for the second
Federline.
No, I mean, do you don't remember this? Steve-O no-sold the splash, so yeah, and then Umaga stomped him in the head and it concussed him for a full day. Didn't remember a full day of his life.
I kind of got to tell you.
Take a note, Seth Rollins.
Yeah, welcome to wrestling, bitch. Also, I don't understand who's like the guest host thing is it's so weird. Why did they do that?
It's the same thing as like, I mean, we don't do this, but the same thing as podcasts are like, this guy has a lot of Twitter followers and I don't know who the fuck, but we never talked before. So let's have an awkward conversation. Well, we get some fucking people to listen to this, but not us. We just want to talk, the two of us.
That's right. No guess.
We'll never have anyone with any Twitter clout on. Don't worry, guys.
I mean, I've been demanding for weeks that we just we replace all of the information on Twitter with just a single screen grabbed iPhone note that says, proceed to smoke weed. World is over. That's what I want to put. It sounds like we got to be a bit more positive, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I want to have old NFL football players who got caught for drug abuse and steroids and no one else. That's what do you guys watch that fake shit? And I'll be like, yeah, we do. And then they just abuse us for an hour while we're silent. And then we go, very well, sir. That'll be the episode.
I guarantee I would love to do a podcast where we interview people you wouldn't think are wrestling fans. Because here's the thing is, that's impossible. Anytime someone's like, I'm a wrestling fan, and I'm like, wait for it. And then they always are like, I grew into this face. I used to look very different as a child. But yeah, Umaga's end is so fucking sad because it's basically Battle of the Billionaires. He's a guy, clearly he's partying too hard, gets popped for drugs, indie circuit, dead. Like he's
dead in months too. Like he's the Intercontinental champion for a hot minute. He beats the shit out of Jeff Hardy. He's still doing great work. They turn him babyface for like 9 seconds just because people are like,
this is fun. He's hurting
this guy rules. And also, like, I think a new frontier for that character that would have come up was this is when you're getting the WECW brand split.
Yeah.
And he would have been great in ECW because I do think it's like a reinvention for that character. Obviously, they didn't do ECW for what it's actually meant for. But like just adding the fact that this guy could beat the shit out of someone so bad they bled and just like taking him there, taking the character past the PG would have been great for it. And it was just like a new level. Like obviously it's the same thing that the Wild Samoans did where, you know, you cover yourself in blood and whatever. But also the thing he never did was, do you remember the head shrinkers used to just straight up eat raw chicken? Like, at least they didn't do that, where they were like,
no, I don't remember that.
Salmonella is probably too far. No, dude, watch old Royal Rumble. I think it's Royal Rumble 93. They give a promo where they're just fucking eating a goddamn raw chicken.
It's Survivor Series. I know exactly what you're talking about because they're on the Foreign Fanatics.
Like,
yeah, they're just eating a raw chicken.
The Abdullah the Butcher. And Abdullah the Butcher would do that shit, too. It was like, I mean, so you just have to get so used to salmonella that you're just like unaffected.
It's so funny to recontext Umaga as that's as politically correct as Vince McMahon was ever willing to make a Polynesian island wrestler.
Yeah, you don't have to get salmonella anymore.
Dylan, I want you to tell me the best thing and the worst thing about Umaga in your opinion.
The best thing about Umaga is in ring, and the worst thing is probably that he did his best work under that gimmick, but he made the gimmick work. I don't know how he made the gimmick work. Like, to be honest,
I think that'd be like a
babyface making in the mid 2000s or after the new millennium, making a gimmick work was "I love America," a guy with America pants. That's how hard this shit is to make work.
I would say it would be like if you made your gimmick Y2K. He's the Y2K man.
Or a guy came out, I guess we have Hangman Page now, but like a guy came out as just a straight up fucking cowboy and was like, I'm a cowboy and I have a lot of goats. And everyone was like, I like that.
I'm going to say this. I could give a fuck about Hangman Page. I don't understand why.
Whoa.
Yeah. Attention, everyone. I didn't care about that title change, nor did I think it was significant in any way. And I don't like it.
Yeah, there you go. That's John Bayless, Skip Hastings. Let's go.
That's right. Best thing about Umaga, you're 100% is in ring. Worst thing overall about him, worst finishing maneuver in the last 30 years.
No, not as bad as, honestly, not as bad as the Tongan Death Grip, where when the Tongan Death Grip was put on, it's around the throat.
I agree with you.
Sometimes Ming would miss, and it would just be holding the dude's chin, and he'd be like, you must be fucking killing his chin.
Yeah, the Tongan Death Grip's also pretty shit. But the Tongan Death Grip was not a finisher. It was a Haku's finisher was, I think, I don't think I've ever seen Haku win a match.
I wouldn't even say worst finisher. When's the last time someone did a heart punch? Punch him in the heart, he's dead now?
I mean, definitely in the last 20 years. I don't know. I just didn't like the fucking spike. How about that, Dylan? Dylan, look at me.
Standing strikes like that, especially like how the way Umaga did it, where he holds the guy up and then the guy's completely still. Like there's no action. There's no guy moving into it. Like the Superman punch is Roman Reigns' Superman punch. I don't understand why that isn't his finisher. Like everyone does a fucking spear. Just make your dude different. But like B, it's like he's moving towards the guy. You can do it in so many different ways. There was never like a way Umaga did the Asiatic spike or the Samoan spike where it was like the guy ducks, the guy comes off the rope and then he fucking hits him. That'd be dope. Anyway.
That would be dope. You know what would be dope? Not doing this podcast anymore, and Dylan and I just full jacking off for each other. Show me how much you shoot. Show me how much you shoot.
Show it to me. How much do you care? Thank you so much for listening, guys. Obviously, I mentioned, but we'll have SummerSlam 90 on Patreon at some point. We didn't get some time. John went on tour. Dylan had to do a bunch of Christmas parties for people that eat their salads. You're gonna go on during the dessert.
You're gonna go on when everyone's left. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's just gonna be the boss telling you about how much he doesn't like how the male girl's a cunt.
Yeah, you're like,
she won't suck me off. Anyway, I can't say. I hope he does it in the office. I paid you.
I hope he does it loudly and near to my face, and it's like, that's right. And he's like, that's good.
Hey, you're gonna be doing the lunch for the Open Mouth Chewers Association. Oh, good. This doesn't pay enough. Yeah, it does. Anyway, just listen to us chew. No comedy.
I played that gig. Dylan, I'm going to go suck myself off now. I love you. And guess what? You can find Dylan. Go ahead.
Patreon.com/Wrestler Review for any other information about what we're up to. That once again, we have new episodes. Thank you very much to all our patrons.
Find Dylan at Dylan God on Twitter or me, the John Hastings on Twitter. Check out the Untitled Twitch stream, my almost daily podcast I do with Ashley Batting and Chris Betts. Dylan, you were going to thank everyone about Patreon again.
Yep. Thanks so much for listening, guys. It really helps us out. I think, how many are we at? Give me 1 second. How many patrons?
Give him 1 second. Dylan got.
We're at 80 patrons. We're trying to go for 100, and building to 100. Then we'll fucking take a screen cap. We're gonna have more merchandise up. I'm thinking of a mug that just says "This is Jizz." Nothing to do with wrestling. And
I think I got news for you. I'm really pushing for a "This is Jizz" mug.
Okay. Well, I mean, we'll just do that. I'll design the mug, and it'll take 5 seconds, and then anyone who gets it will have to hide it from their family.
Friends. Your friends will also not enjoy you drinking out of a mug that says "This is Jizz."
You're going to have to not even watch it in a garage. You'll have to be in the furnace room to use the mug.
Yeah. You have to be in. I've only seen this sometimes, which is in certain places in England. I've seen that they have 2 sheds: the close to the house shed and the far away shed.
The far away shed.
It's very rural. I was in Yorkshire.
No one in England isn't scary. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Catch us next week when we talk about someone.
My new philosophy, which is life is fear. Next week, we'll be talking about Dylan Gott's favorite wrestler, Adolf Hitler.
No, we're doing a Jerry McDivitt episode at some point. So
oh, I cannot wait for Jerry McDivitt. I'm gonna go talk. I want to talk to actual lawyers. I want to go ask them some legal questions about this man.
Oh, that'll be good. All right. Goodbye, everyone. We love you.